Alright monkeys, round 6 is in the books. It was a round of upsets and there are plenty of upset fans. I'm looking at you, Parramatta fans, and maybe a little bit of Dragons fans as well. Let's be a little bit honest about ourselves. But there were plenty of things that we learned, specifically 8 things. And I'm going to go through the 8 things that we learned following round 6. Stay tuned for the last one, Tigers fans. You're going to like this one. Now, if you are new, make sure you do hit that subscribe button. We are less than 10 people away from hitting 2,000 subscribers. I want to thank all of you for helping us climb up that milestone, and I can't wait to hit it. But anyway, let's get back to the video. All right, so we start with number 1. The Bulldogs make a statement. Who's going to be the halfback? Lachlan Galvin should be moved to 5'8". Matt Burton a centre. What's happening with Bronson Xerri? Yada, yada, yada. The Bulldogs put that all to bed against the Penrith Panthers. They looked unbeatable, were the Mountain Men, but the Bulldogs turned up on Thursday night and put on the upset of all upsets. They out-enthused or out-Penrithed Penrith. The Bulldogs ran for more meters, they got quicker play the balls, and Lachlan Galvin outshone Nathan Cleary. Game 50 outshines Game 200. But full credit here goes to Lachlan Galvin. 4 line break assists, 1 try assist, a complete performance. Jacob Preston just stamped himself into the New South Wales State of Origin side. 3 line breaks, 1 try assist, 1 try. He was on fire. The Bulldogs made a statement, and I think all NRL is now on notice. Number 2, the Panthers are human after all. I thought the Panthers were going to go the season undefeated, or at least close to it, but the Bulldogs' loss means that's no longer the case. I think this loss was something the Panthers needed, and I say that because they were just running so high, so hot, and that you can only sustain that for so long. Now, premierships are not won in April, they're won in October, and at the end of the day, this game will not be something that we're going to look back at come grand final day. In saying that, the Panthers just simply proved the age-old omen. If you can't hold the ball, you can't win rugby league games. 16 errors the Penrith Panthers, the same amount of errors the Bulldogs had against the Rabbitohs, with a 64% completion rate. You can't win games of rugby league with your completion rate in the 60s. They were going far too side to side. They weren't getting any momentum. They were chasing the scoreboard. That's not the Penrith Panthers. They like to lead from the front, set the ascendancy, and break teams down mentally before they break them down physically. They'll bounce back this week. Not a worry in the world. Penrith Panthers, a classy outfit, but in fact, they have proved they are human after all. Number 3, Manly continue winning streak. And I really want to highlight Kieran Foran having the best win record of all NRL coaches. Surely he's in the conversation for best NRL coach ever, right? The star man is Tom Trbojevic. It looks so good to see the fullback looking like he's in full fitness. He looks fast, he looks healthy, and he has scored a try in every game that he has played in so far. 6 tries in 5 games for Tom Trbojevic, and I don't see any reason why that's going to slow down. Dismantling the Dragons 28-18 in Wollongong and breaking that 9-year-long hoodoo. Well done to the Manly Seagulls. Number 4, while Flanagan is coach, the Dragons will continue to lose. This might sound harsh, but the proof is in the pudding. The Dragons, with every performance, are simply getting worse. I think if any other NRL team was facing Manly, would have defeated them. Luckily for the Seagulls, they came up against a heartless Dragons side. I think there's a few players there who absolutely bust their guts out, but there are other players who just are stragglers. They're to earn a paycheck. And I don't ever want to question the professionalism of players, but you just look at their commitment in defense. That will tell you a lot about a player, and it'll tell you a lot about a team. And then when they have the ball, you got back rowers kicking it when there's a 3-on-2 overlap. Now, I'm not going to go in at Luciano Leilua. I think he's been the Dragons' best player so far this season. But it just tells me there's a lack of control. Players are not being held accountable. The coach is not making sensible selection choices. And I just need to highlight the man in the number 7 shirt, Kyle Flanagan. Now, this isn't about Kyle, and I'm not singling him out as a player, but what I do want to highlight is when he's the 3rd best half at best in that club, and he gets chosen week in, week out, and the Dragons are winless, sorry Shane, you can't stay as coach. There are players wondering why your son, who is not up to first grade standard, continues to get picked every single week while the team continue to lose. He's not a game manager, and you've just proven that you'll choose family over results. And for that reason, that would be a fractured dressing room. Jaden Suarez decided he's out. There are young players looking like they want to head out the door as well. There are players playing reserve grade, like at the Dolphins, who don't even want to play first grade if it means playing for the St. George Illawarra Dragons and Shane Flanagan. So while ever Shane Flanagan is at the Dragons are going to continue to lose games. The management team at the Dragons seriously need to make a difficult decision that I think is actually quite easy. Number 5, the Melbourne Storm dominance era is dead. Melbourne Storm, 4 losses in a row, conceding 50 points last week, conceding over 30 points this week. This is not a Melbourne Storm that I'm used to seeing. They've ruined my adolescent years, winning premierships, cheating the salary cap, doing WWE suplexes and ankle locks in the middle of rugby league matches. But the dominance, I think, is over. This Melbourne Storm side, now you'd be a brave man to say they're not going to make the top 8. I think that might be a stretch too far. I think Melbourne will still be in the top 8 this year, but they are not the dominant Melbourne Storm era of old. They've lost back-to-back grand finals. I think emotionally, that's hard enough to bounce back from. But in terms of their caliber of players, they've got a lot of injuries, and it's just starting to catch up with them now. They don't have the depth that they used to have, and a lot then falls back onto Hughes, Grant, Munster, and I think that's just a bit of a stretch too far for them. Melbourne fans, you've had a really blessed nearly 30-year dominance over the NRL, but I'm happy to say the dominance era of the Melbourne Storm is dead. Number 6, the Roosters have arrived. It was a 24-0 second half blitz. The Sydney Roosters have finally arrived in 2026. They've had a really mixed start to the season, but they're now putting back-to-back performances together. Against the Cronulla Sharks, I was starting to worry once they were so far behind, but Daniel Tupou scoring right on the verge of half-time, and that was enough and beat the Cronulla Sharks. The Sydney Roosters finally look like a side that can threaten for the premiership. Once they put an 80-minute performance together, beware of the Sydney Roosters. And Penrith have gotten rightfully a lot of attention so far this year, but when you look across the park, there is no side in the NRL with an equal spread of talent like the Sydney Roosters. Premierships aren't won in March and April, they're won in October. And if the Roosters can time their run so that they're hitting their straps come August and September, the NRL competition better look out. Number 7. Parramatta Humiliated and the Eels are in free fall. Eels fans were booing the players off the field after the 42-point thrashing. While other teams around Sydney, like the Bulldogs and the Tigers, are rising, you got the Parramatta Eels failing. So humiliating 52-10 loss at the hands of not the Melbourne Storm, not the Brisbane Broncos, not the Penrith Panthers, but the Gold Coast Titans. The Eels scored just 2 tries in the match, while the Titans ran in 9 tries. This was the first time that the Titans have scored 50 points in an NRL game since they beat the New Zealand Warriors 66-6 back in June 2024, nearly 2 years ago. And Jason Ryles told us there needs to be a culture shift and he needed to push some players out and he's trying to set a new culture, and they've just had a dreadful start to the season, the Parramatta Eels, and it doesn't get any easier because you got the Bulldogs next week. And as a Bulldogs fan, I can't wait for that game. We're gonna smoke the Parramatta Eels. You know what? You don't need smoked salmon no more. We're gonna have smoked eel on the barbecue. It's on the menu and it's only at CommBank Stadium on Sunday, April 19. You wait for it, Parramatta. And number 8. The Tigers are top 4 contenders, but the Tigers ran out dominant 42-22 victors against the Newcastle Knights, and they are, without a doubt for me, a top 4 contender. Look at the attacking threat all over that side. Adam Dewey's playing career best football at halfback. And this is without Jerome Luai, who's their $1 million signing, by the way. Rivers scoring hat-tricks at centre when he's always naturally been a winger or a fullback. Big young forwards just dominating. Samuel Fainu and K. Pierce Paul, just absolutely exciting NRL side is the West Tigers. But based on the threat that they have at the moment, Benji Ball looks like it could get the Tigers all the way to the top 4. But they need to put 80 minutes together. At 32-4, they should have been putting the Knights to bed. Instead, the Newcastle Knights were able to run in 3 tries in the final 20 minutes. The Tigers do need to be better. Against stronger sides, you will be punished. Because let's not forget, the Newcastle Knights, it's only their second defeat of the season, and they're without Kalen Ponga and Dylan Brown, and they'll only get stronger when those 2 players return. So I dare say that if those 2 players were available, they would have offered more of a threat to the Tigers. In saying that, you can only play what's in front of you, and the Tigers absolutely dealt with the Newcastle Knights, but they need to be professional and they need to be able to run it out for 80 minutes. Now, if the Tigers can do that, and I have no reason to believe that they can't, then they are every chance of not only securing a top 8 finish, but a top 4 finish. Now, this is a significant victory for the West Tigers. It's the first time that they've won 3 games in a row since 2018. That was 8 years ago. 3 wins in a row, 3 tries to Taruva, and maybe, just maybe, a top 8 finish in line for the West Tigers for the first time since 2011. And there you have it from me. There are the 8 things that we learned from round 6 this NRL season. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Get all your comments and Parramatta Eel tears in the comments below. We have a Parramatta match preview coming up this week, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I'll see you at CommBank Stadium talking to the fans. Look out for me at your next NRL game because I want to push your opinion over the try line. Enjoy your rugby league and get out of here.